Now we're going to move over to the keynote for our BoostUp 21 RIS edition. And I need to tell you a story. A few years ago, I was joining the Vienna Production Congress, which is a congress that is organized by Professor Fritz Bleicher from the Institute of Manufacturing Technology here at the Technical University in Vienna. And in one of those evening events, I came to sit next to a completely stranger for my dinner. And it was one of the best dinners, professional dinners that I ever had. Because here I was sitting as a guy, 30 years in corporate, very well structured, very well aligned, very well backed up. And I'm coming to sit next to somebody who is, let's say, disruptive, very disruptive. Now, he is, this was a great evening, a great exchange of information, a great exchange of ideas. I really, really enjoyed it, and we became good friends, and he's with us today. So he's a founding partner and the CEO of iconmobile Group, which was established in 2003. iconmobile has been disrupting markets with innovative strategies for some of the world's most recognizable brands for over the past 17 years. As a group CEO, he has been at the forefront of innovations, enabling its clients and empowering its teams to defy convention and push for groundbreaking work. iconmobile's group subsidiaries include automotive design practices, mobility data and experience platforms called Banbutsu and Icon Ventures. In addition to his role with iconmobile Group, he is an active venture capitalist overseeing a diverse portfolio that focuses on the most exciting and forward-looking ventures and industries, from gaming to esports to beauty tech. He also serves as a mentor for APACS, as an advisor to the UN General Assembly, and sits on the advisory board of several startups. And he's an excellent devil's advocate and a great friend. Please welcome with me, Thomas Fellger. Hi, Thomas.
Hey, Hannes.
Are you in Berlin or are you in California right now?
I'm in California. If I turn my little screen, you will see a very dark outside.
Very good. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We are so glad having you, and we are looking forward to your keynote that will inspire all our startups and scale-ups companies that are joining us today. Thank you so much for doing that, Thomas.
Oh, you're welcome. Pleasure. First of all, thank you for inviting me for this really great keynote, and that passion is at the heart of what I do in entrepreneurship. You can see when I tell you that I'm now it's 3 a.m. I guess 3:30 or something here in LA, and you do these things not because you get paid for, because you do this because you love it. So starting with passion. So what is it? It's actually something people sometimes confuse with love. And what I would like to really stress out here is that if you're an entrepreneur, you need passion. Passion means you're completely focused. You don't care what's happening next to you. You really want to do something great. And no matter how much you suffer, you don't care. It's the same with relationships, right? You start seeing a girl, no matter how she looks, what she does, if you're really into her, this is passion. But then suddenly, life hits, and then passion cannot be around anymore, because at some point you cannot keep up the passion. Why? Otherwise, it would not have looked around. You cannot do anything else, because passion means you totally focus. That's what you need to start a great company, a startup, whatever. But if you really keep there this is where the title maybe is a little bit misleading, but what you really need after passion is the love for it. Because only then, if things get worse or things have problems, you get problems, this is when you try to solve things. So getting to what started for me was really this thing as a corporate guy. I really lasted only 2 years, couldn't do it because my passion was doing something for myself. And so I started iconmobile. And after that, all what you see here is where companies I'm involved with. And you can only do that because from the passion you created, you loved I started then to love building companies and getting involved in new technologies and new ways of changing the way people behave, how they use services and the products you can buy today. So really from this overview, and really it shows from IoT platform to the right camping butler, where we take care about your the things you get rid of when you are in a camping caravan, and you don't want to clean it by yourself. This is what you can use then as a solution. So from really high tech to, let's say, restroom topics, everything is covered here. So why passion is so important, and the love for the business you're in, it shows really big companies like Nokia. There's others to name, but this is one, it's still one of the best examples. You are the best, the biggest company in the world, but if you're not passionate and you don't love what you do, you really don't get what's happening in the streets out there, what people really want, what the experience should be, because you don't question. Most of the time, you don't question your status quo. If you get hired as a CEO, most of the time, they're not coming with the biggest passion. Most of the time, they come with a big paycheck. And what they do is they try to make sense of numbers, making sense of a strategy, of a mission, but their heart is not really in. And I don't know, the statement you see here was for me a shocking one when I heard it at that time, because I was younger than now, but I still remember it. And you don't want to hear from a CEO who gets a really big paycheck running one of the biggest companies in the world to tell that somehow we lost, somehow. I mean, that's exactly what happens if you don't get it anymore and if you ignore what's going out there in the world. And I think one of the most interesting things you have as an entrepreneur is that you actually really, because you're passionate about your topic, you really understand what you want to solve, and at that time you really understand the environment you're in. You understand what you're looking for, what you want to change, and that drives you. And at some point, people lose these things, and that you can see when you look at the rankings of the last 40 years of the top 10 valued companies. You see that. You see that companies are up there in the top 10 who have passionate leaders or have been passionate leaders and love what they do. And I think that's a big difference to the other corporate companies you see out there. And what's really funny is, because now startups became, for the last 10 years or 15 years, kind of a fashionable thing to do. Now schools trying to, or not trying, they're offering entrepreneurship studies, right? And I know a lot of people who went to these programs, and I also know a lot of people who never did. And this is my personal opinion, but I really would like to share it, because if you're passionate about something and you want to change something, that came from an experience you had. That doesn't come because you read a book. It doesn't come from, oh, somebody told you something, or you looked at a case study, or you saw how other people started a company. There might be areas where this can be true, but in my opinion, you cannot teach entrepreneurship. That's something you have in your genes. That is something you want to do. That's something you burn for. And if you do that and go back to maybe a program like that to learn more skills, to learn to be better accomplished as a CEO, as a founder, whatever, that might work. But I can't believe that you go somewhere and somebody tells you, okay, this is how you become an entrepreneur. This is how you do it. And then you get out of the school and you say, okay, now I'm an entrepreneur, I start a company and be successful. I can't believe that. Because that comes back to the passion. You cannot learn passion. You have to drive for something you believe in. And I think whatever I did, when I started a company, I had no clue about financials. I had no clue about SOX compliances, about legal stuff, about all the other stuff you need to learn when you start a company. But because I was passionate about it, it's easy to pick up. Because once you're in, you really want to drive for success, right? And as much as the programs start now, most of the big companies say you don't require any studies anymore. Why? Because we're living in a world right now where we have all the tools to educate ourselves. If we're passionate, we don't need to go and study somewhere. I mean, taking my son, he's just turned 18. He just finished 2 courses at Harvard and Yale online. So he doesn't need anything. He just looked at the things he loved, and then he did some courses because he really wanted to know more about it. So if you look at the Apple University or any other online, like from YouTube to actually even Discord offers now courses and stuff like that. So new channels are rising up, and you can learn everything you need if you're passionate, because If you go study, for example, we have a lot of developers in our company. If you go and study developing, like coding, whatever, that doesn't compare to somebody who sat at home with 14 years old and tried to assemble his first game. From this game, he started to do some other software stuff. He built his own websites, and he started to do some own app development, etc., etc. All this is so much more worth, self-driven, passionate about certain things, that the skill level these kids come to us are so much higher than people got trained. Because some of the developers we got, they did development because they thought it's a good idea, because they read, developing is a need for everybody, and developers are needed in the future more and more. So let's go for the safe ride and study, coding. But that's not how this works anymore in this world. And what I can only tell you, if for me, what really worked, and a lot of people told me all the time, I'm not really focused. I'm all over the place. I have too many ideas. I have too much in my head, whatever. But it wasn't that I was not focused. And when I read the book, Everything Bad is Good for You, it really opened my eyes, because that was exactly what I was missing as a description of my state of being. And that was that what I did is in this book called Telescoping. You know what you want to achieve in the future, but you know you cannot jump there. So what you do is you're getting closer and closer and closer over time. And that is more telescoping here in this aspect. So what I did is I was looking around at different industries, different technologies, but not because I didn't know what to do. It was because I wanted to get to a level where I can create certain experiences, certain products, but I didn't know at that time how. And so what really, in my experience, good founders have this kind of telescoping in mind. Even if they start a company now with a certain first product or service, they know how to from going from this product to the next level, because they know it's not finished. They keep going. And that's why you're looking at a broader field, and then you narrow it down to maybe at the end of what you believe is the final product or service, where we all know, though, there will be no final anymore in this world. And, just showing some examples of that, I mean, air, bed, and breakfast, not only the name changed, but also the service changed over time, because these guys just started with an idea and saw what works, what doesn't work, and changed it over time. So, and if you don't have passion and you get emails like that telling you that your business is not scalable enough and it's too small and you're not investing, and getting hundreds of these, the only way you keep going is actually by making sure that you're really passionate of what you want to do, because you cannot take no for an answer if you're really into this. Or I don't know if you know this app anymore, because a lot of people forgot about it, Bourbon. It is actually today the Instagram. And also there, right? If the people would have stick with the first idea they had, they would be out of the market now. But they saw what's happening, they saw what's working, they saw what people are passionate about, they understood it and took it and changed their product so that they focused on the things really working for the audience they had, and really made this one of a very fast growing and big success. As everybody knows, they got $1.1 or so billion within a short time when they changed it to Instagram. So also here, it was a lot of build up before, and it was a lot of passion involved, but they loved their product so much that they understood they have to change it, and that the outlook of this kind of products has to be matching with the audience you're looking for. Same here, right? Backrub, I mean, this was the first name of Google. It took Google 10 years to get recognized in the world. A lot of people forget that, because some of the founders starting from the wrong directions. Because if it's not really passion, these guys would have done it for the next 100 years, because they're passionate about algorithms, about the searching, how they did actually the catalogization of documents, etc. This was their passion, their love. And when I'm as a mentor at Apex, I see a lot of startups, talking to them, listening to their pitches, and so on. And you know what I really see more and more, which really a little bit is making me sad, to be honest, is that people come in and say, oh yeah, I failed 3 times before, and now I should invest in them because now it's the 4th time, and they learned so much. And I want to make really one thing clear. I really don't believe in this fail fast fantasy. I really don't. I don't think that there's any numbers, and I think I looked it even up. There's no correlation about failing and success. If you did it wrong 3 times, that is, for me, actually more a fact of you will fail the next time as well, because you proved yourself you're failing. So I don't say you cannot fail, but what I say is that's not something you advertise. I don't think that's a great pitch to make if you go to investors and want to have money. Because if you're really passionate about something and you start a company, whatever success means, but you can always create a success. Either you license what you created so far, or you sell it to some competitors or whatever. There's always a way to spin this as a success, but just giving up and just run away from something, it doesn't cut with me. And the other thing is, some of these startup guys come to me and talk about the exit in the first 5 minutes. They're like, oh yeah, we saw this company, that company, and we're doing exactly the same, and they get valued like this, and that's why we value the company like that. Also pretty stupid in my opinion. I mean, I want founders who don't want to leave. I want founders who are there for the long run, because I can get any kind of people anytime to run something for 1 or 2 years, but staying there for 10 years and making it a success no matter what, it's a different story. And one story I want to give to you is actually, I had several moments in my life where my companies were close to closing because of bankruptcy. So we had, in 2007, we lost our biggest client. We had to let go 50 people. And my shareholder at that time, one of the biggest advertising companies in the world, thought, okay, that's a good time to get more shares because they need the money. And I didn't want to do it. So I learned about that we have no money. When I just landed in LA, my CFO called me and said, oh, I'm sorry, Thomas, I forgot to tell you. And this was really his sentence. He really told me that in this way. He said, I'm so sorry, but I couldn't tell you we have no money anymore, and we will run out of money in 1 week or 2 weeks from now. I couldn't believe it, right? Because all my shares were on the stake and so on and so forth. So I turned around, I got upgraded by Lufthansa and was sitting in first class. And I was like, wow, cool. Because I guess they felt sorry that I turned around within 24 hours and flew back and forth. So from Germany. So I sit in first class. There's this nice guy next to me, older gentleman, talking to me, very friendly, said, hey, you want to have a glass of wine with me? He said, oh, I'm stressed out. I have to build my PowerPoints right now because I have to present to some people. I need money and I'm really stressed out. He said, okay, chill out, have a glass of wine with me and I'll leave you alone. So we talked about the company. I showed him the deck, blah, blah, blah. So we ended up with a little bit more than 1 glass of wine. But what he told me at the landing in Frankfurt, I never will forget. He said, okay, you know what? You're really passionate about what you do. And I see the love you have for what you do. Come to Zurich, you will get 2 million euros on Sunday. We landed on Friday. Come on Sunday, I give you the money. And he did. And this is what I mean. You never give up. There's always a way how to come back if you're really into it. And if people believe that you're passionate about your stuff. If you don't, if you're just a hired CEO, this would never happen. I make a bet with you. So what I'm saying is you have to be in there for the fight. And this will be hard because there's never, ever a easy story. Nobody can tell me that. I've never seen it. It was never that in the world. And there's not one example, I think, where it was really just easy. So you have to be ready to fight and go for a lot of crazy shit. So when you don't passionate and don't have the love for it, what you see here is actually what's, a summary of what Steve Jobs said. And not that I want to copy him, but he's so right. This is not a lifestyle. This is not a lifestyle you would acknowledge or you would want to be in if you don't have that kind of passion and love for what you do. And the Japanese have the best way to say this, in my opinion. It's called Ikigai, and it means the reason why you stand up in the morning. And I think this is really breaking it down for me. I want to stand up every morning and don't think about work. I want to think about the passion I have for what I do and the love I have for what I do, because I wake up every morning and my life looks like a little bit of like a Disneyland, because I can do what I want and I have the tools to do that. And the only one thing I want to leave this with is, if you be an entrepreneur, things have changed in the world, as you can say, with sustainability and all the things we need to do. So think about it to become successful in an ecosystem and don't become this ego who wants to be number one no matter what. I think we live in a different world, and I think you can become very successful if you become part of an ecosystem and not just the warrior within and tries to, knock everybody else out next to him. So last words, turn passion into love, because then it lasts and then you will fight for it. And what's the real thing? What's the real deal for all of us entrepreneurs is that nobody can tell us what we do, right? We create it because we love it. And that's how I end my speech. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Thomas. Really, really enjoyed that, and I know all my friends here too. Once again, thank you so much for getting up that early in the morning and doing that for us. I've one question here. Is so it pays to fly first class to meet the right people?
Right, absolutely. Always fly first class.
Very good. I have another question here for you, Thomas, and that is, what kind of criteria are you using for you personally to invest?
First of all, and this is really not news, you look, of course, at the team, and you want to see this fire in their eyes, right? You want to really see that they really stand behind what they do. And then the next thing for me is, of course, I want to be in industries where I believe there's a future and where I know I can make a difference. So I want to know, can I be part of a group where I can help them to shortcut certain things, getting a first big client, getting access to certain networks, etc.
Now, a couple of our startups always come with the same question, and it's mostly in the direction of, how can I get the right introduction to the right investor? Is there some kind of magic formula to that?
Yeah, there is. It's called hustling. You go to every event. I mean, it's hard in this Corona times, right? But what I did, I went to every event. I tried to meet the people, look it up where they are, try to meet them, be very bold about it. And, you fail 90% of the time, but the 10% I met and they kept going with me is like people like Hans-Dr. Peter Wild, the guy who owns Capri-Sun and owned Wild Flavors and is a billionaire, This is the people you meet if you hustle, and I think you have to. And there's always a smart way to do, because if you want to go in a certain industry, you go to the fair shows, you make introductions, you go to conferences, you push people aside, right, and stand in front of them and say, hey, sorry, can I talk to you? I mean, it's kind of this kind of thing. And of course, using your network can also be, you can use it in a smart way or in a dumb way. That's the black and white view in my sense, right? So if you want to go to somebody, and I give you one example because that just happened to me. Think about a startup who needs introductions to the biggest advertising holder in the world. And the guy, because I didn't come back within a 2-week time frame or 3-week time frame, sent me an email like, hey, ghosting is for teenagers. Can you grow up? Guess what? Stupid mistake. Sure. So you should be smart about it.
Sure, very good. Very good advice. Thank you so much, Thomas. Thank you so much for doing that. I'm really looking forward to meeting you again face to face. As I said yesterday, for a coffee or a beer or a glass of wine. Absolutely. That would be fantastic.
Take all of that.
Very good. Thank you, Thomas. Good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So this was Thomas Fellger, our keynote speaker for the BoostUp 2021 RIS edition.